This is an Alexander Calder sculpture, which we found in a collection in England, actually, in London. And it's a classic Calder because it's about balance and bright color. The top part of it does actually move in the breeze. It's not meant to be dynamically mobile because it is about balance and structure, but it's about loosening sculpture up from the constraints of brass and marble, using modern materials, using the primary colors. I think of it as a very happy sculpture, I must say, and we hung it, we placed it next to the painting, the Howard Hodgkin painting we were just talking about, to maybe have people make a connection between the joyfulness in both pictures, but also some of the compositional elements of the arcing forms and the abstract shapes and so on.
I really like that.
Yeah, it's enormously popular. And it's a sign of our commitment to this exhibition. I mean, transporting sculpture across the Atlantic is not an inexpensive undertaking, but we were really committed to making this the best it could be. We're also going to publish an exhibition catalogue, which we didn't publish at the opening because we wanted to, on the one hand, illustrate everything, and by having all the pieces here, we can do that. But also we're going to publish installation shots, so panoramic views of the rooms, which I hope reinforces the point that I was making earlier about paying attention to the arrangement and the juxtapositions and the sequences. So we hope that will be out in early November, with commentary on each piece written by Ackland staff, but also Carolina students, the next generation of alums. So we've made this an educational experience that goes beyond just celebrating the private collections of some individuals.
If someone's watching our talk today, how can they order a copy of this catalog?
Well, I think the best way would be to contact the Ackland store, the new store, which we opened a few months ago on the corner of Franklin and Columbia. They will be handling sales of the catalog as well as a lot of other things. And since all the proceeds from sales at the store go to help the exhibition and public programming, I encourage everybody watching to spend.
That's right. I'm with you, Peter. I'm with you. Okay, let's move ahead here and take a look at one more piece in here.
Okay. This is actually an important piece in the exhibition by the artist William Wegman, a 1982 photograph of his dog Man Ray. And Man Ray is well known to art lovers because Wegman made a whole series of works with Man Ray, a dog whose expressiveness and malleability and character and personality and energy, I think he must have been working with Man Ray for 10 years or something like that. I should check. What is especially poignant about this picture is that Man Ray is actually dying, and dies, I think, a few weeks or a few months after this picture. The artist knew that. The dog had, I think, cancer of some kind. And so, unlike a lot of the earlier images where Man Ray was playful and exotic and irrepressible, here, in the artist's own words, he was trying to help Man Ray along by adding this blue makeup and adding this colorful rug, this rather helpless, rather poignant attempt to give the dog some dignity in its last days. Obviously a failed attempt in some way, and the artist knows that, a very knowing, intelligent artist. But it also stands for the very strong representation we have in the exhibition of photography. From the early history of photography, well, beginning around 1900, we have some very key pieces in the earlier gallery along this wall where this picture is hanging, and in the more contemporary gallery. Photography, really in the course of modern and contemporary art, established itself as an art form, the equal of painting and sculpture. And we wanted to stress that too with work such as this.
This collection spans over 3 and into 4 rooms of the museum. Let's move into the next room.
Fine.
Well, Peter, obviously all of these pieces have impacted you in some way as you've made your decision to include them. But is there any piece that has, more so than others, impacted you in a big way? And can you tell us about that?
I mean, you're absolutely right. They all mean a lot to me. As I've slowly put the show together, and I think of them all as equal children that I should care for. I think there were some pieces that I looked at and I knew instantly they had to be in the show, and I wasn't quite sure why. They're not necessarily the most expensive pieces or the most important pieces, but there were a range of pieces that I just knew instinctively. I suppose drawing on my experience with other art and exhibitions over the years, I think curators develop an intuitive understanding of what they want. They may not be able to articulate exactly why, although if they're good, they can. And we're standing next to a piece which was one of the few pieces I chose from a transparency, from an image, not from the actual object. I tried very hard to go and see all the pieces before choosing them, which is important to get a sense of what it actually looks like. But this piece, I've known this artist's work for a while, Roxy Payne, an American sculptor, and it belongs to a collector in New York, and I just said, we have to have it. They're not rare, and I'll explain to you why they aren't rare. They have some resonance here in North Carolina because outside the North Carolina Museum of Art, there is an artificial tree made of metal standing there, which is by the same artist. So he's an artist who's a bit known around here. But these pieces are called scumacs, and they are made by a computer-programmed extrusion machine where the artist loads this plastic material and color into a funnel, and then the computer program, the algorithm, extrudes it in sections and timed sections, I think onto a conveyor belt, so the conveyor belt can move on. He can be making more than one at once. And so every one is different because it all depends on the chance of where the plastic comes out of the nozzle and the weight and the gravity and probably the temperature at the time. And they're all, in a way, not made by the artist. They're made by this machine. So it's this wonderfully humorous, I think, wonderfully witty, wonderfully engaging piece that has a friendliness to it and a strangeness to it that I think immediately holds the viewer, because it raises all the good questions about what is the role of creativity, what is the role of material, what is the role of chance, a lot of those important issues which are come up again and again in the history of modern and contemporary art, and actually can be seen again and again in the other works in the show that we haven't seen. So I hope that many of the people seeing this will come back and put it all together. This is a much tougher work by an African-American artist named Glenn Ligon. And I have to say I'm quite proud of how we've been able to represent African-American artists and women artists in this exhibition. This is behind glass for a very particular reason. It's made with oil stick, which is a sticky medium, drawing medium, with coal dust adhering to it. So it's a very fragile surface which we had to protect. It's actually based on stencils of a text quoting a written piece by James Baldwin, the African-American author from the mid-century. And we don't have the time now to go into what that text is, how it's very hard to read here, the meaning of why it's hard to read, the use of the color black, the stenciling. But it's a piece that condenses a lot of those concerns. And yet, I think also it has a very appealing surface. I mean, it's just, it's sort of luscious in the deep blacks of the material. And we were very pleased to find this in a collection in Raleigh, in fact. So,
thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well, let's just move just down a bit.
This is a piece by the feminist artist Linda Benglish, who came to prominence in the late 60s and early 70s with work like this, amongst many other things. And it is actually pigmented beeswax applied over this geometrical shape. So you get that wonderful tension, I think, between the strictness of the geometry and the lusciousness, the flowingness, the water-like quality of the wax as it flows down. It seems to be divided in the middle. It gives you a sense of a Rorschach blot effect coming through. Is it a painting? Is it a sculpture? Where does it stand? It's one of those irritating objects that I think really teach us a lot about contemporary art and what artists do to unsettle our perceptions in intriguing ways.
That's great. Thank you.
Glad you like it. Well, this is a wonderful and beautiful and also irritating piece by a young German artist called Anton Henning. And the story that I want to tell about this is actually a nice story. Obviously, our publics and students are discovering the beauties and challenges of art in this exhibition. And as they've written about things for the catalogue or come in on tours from classes or the public comes in, there are lots of discoveries to be made. What I like about this painting is that its owner made some discoveries by lending it to us, because he explained it normally hangs rather high up in his house, and where it looks wonderful, as you can imagine, it's pretty powerful, strong painting, graphic abstraction. But he said having it down low and lit so well, he's seen complexity in the textures and the colors and other parts of the painting that he hadn't been aware of before. So it's always nice to be able to say we have helped the collectors to understand their work as well as our students and members of the public. So it's a good story, I think, that we all have something to learn, and even the collectors, about the works that they own.
Thank you so much for having us here today. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Ben. I enjoyed it too.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us at Artsee Live. We encourage you to go to artseemagazine.com, where you can get subscription information, read archived issues, and see other interviews of Artsee Live. Thank you.